with marketing, you want to know what tools work. Doesn't mean you want to use them all the time, but you want to test them one at a time and find out, okay, if we invest this in this form, we get this back. And it's just good to know, isn't it? You look at my client base and the client base I've had over 18 months, the main source of those clients has been they saw it. They live locally. They saw it. They're curious. They came in. The hit model is your marketing is your client base. Make each workout the best workout it can be. There's no other option other than the person in front of you. This is how you should think. What they go and say about their workout is your marketing. So I was very much committed to that, and clients were loyal. They were staying with me, the few that I had. But you can overthink it before you do it, and actually once you get going, you'll learn a lot.
Lawrence Still here, and welcome back to High Intensity Business, your one-stop shop for growing your HIIT business and fueling your passion for high-intensity training. This is episode 467. Can you believe it? I've got to stop saying that. Before we dive into today's episode, grab your free PDF playbook, Referral Machine, 4-step referral blueprint for high-intensity training businesses. You can download that now over at highintensitybusiness.com/ref. You'll also get a full-length video training with Luke Carlson from Discover Strength on the best proven practices for driving referrals in your HIIT business. Again, highintensitybusiness.com/ref. That's REF, short for referral. To download that now. You can also just click the link wherever you're watching this, and that playbook will be available for you there as well. So today's guest is James Brown. James is owner of Safe Strength, where older adults rejuvenate their health with strength training under expert one-on-one supervision. Safe Strength is based in Chepstow, Wales, United Kingdom, for a change. Good to have some hit owners from the UK on the podcast. James, great to see you. I'm really grateful you making the time, and pleased we're doing this.
Oh, thank you, Lawrence. It's an honor having been a listener for such a long time.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, right? We were just talking there about how we first got connected, which I had forgotten. And I was going through your LinkedIn bio today and looking at your background, and I was like, product manager, clarinet, and I'd forgotten that. So for those that don't know, I used to work for a technology firm in London, UK called Clarinet, who sell managed hosting and internet connectivity and lots of like technology services to businesses. And I think shortly after I left, you joined. And so that's how we got connected for a colleague. Do you want to just mention that quickly, how it all started?
Yeah, absolutely. I was, because I would it was in London, but I would, instead of using the tube, I'd run to the office, and then you get into conversations with people who talk about exercise, and our mutual friend said, you'd enjoy Lawrence's podcast. And of course, everyone else there, I was new. Everyone else knew who you were. And I was like, who's Lawrence? But I sought out that podcast, and here we are.
Here we are. That's so funny. You know why everyone knows me? Because I used to be this annoying guy walking around trying to sell things. I had little side hustles, and I'd be trying to sell like fat loss PDFs to my colleagues. Not even exaggerating. It was awful. It's probably why they ended up not being too happy with me being there anymore. So you used to run there, what, from your house to
across London. So I'd arrived to Paddington, and the office was by Waterloo, wasn't it? Oh no, it was. Yeah, it wasn't quite there, but yeah, it was still
Holborn. Yeah,
Holborn.
Yeah. So you'd run to Paddington? Did you say? Is that what you mean?
I'd get off at Paddington and
then run from there. Yeah, right. I'm with you. Okay. Yeah, that seems much more viable. So quick, a bit about your background. Obviously, you had a lot of time in product management for various technology companies, similar to Clarinet, right? Selling and delivering hosting services, that kind of thing. And then from there, you did a bit of a big transition. You became basically a full-time dad. And I really respect that. 2 young kids of my own, obviously. It sounds like you felt that was more important to be with them.
Yeah. I guess maybe we have this in common. I was kind of fighting it. So I had 6 employers, and employer number 4, I said, can I go down to a 4-day week? My first child had been born. They said no. And then that wasn't the only reason, but I left there, joined Clarinet, and I wanted there to go to 4-day week, and couldn't get it. But I basically had the chance at the end of the Clarinet employment to go full-time dad, because my shared parental leave, my second child was just, mum was going back to work at that time. So that was nice. I had a good 9 months when they were very young, just being a full-time dad.
How did you find that? Was it nice in terms of obviously being able to spend all this time with your children, but also challenging?
I don't know. Of course it's challenging, but no, I loved it. And it was, probably easy. That was a really good summer of 17, 18 it was. And we were new to the town of Chepstow, so it was just great to get to know it and
Hmm.
meet friends, which are still friends now. But it was only temporary. 9 months flies by, and I was back into another job after that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's they all say it, don't they? And I'm sure you'd be telling people like me who are at the earlier stages that you look back on that and think, I'm so glad I did that. Because that quality time when they're that young is so important. So that's
Mm.
no, I really respect that. And then obviously you jumped back into the workforce as a product manager again. Then eventually got into landscaping as a sole trader. So you were landscaping
Yeah,
gardens.
well, that last job, it was manufacturing rather than IT, and it was
Okay.
terrible company and terribly run and terrible management. I wasn't being pushed at all. Like I'd been product manager several times and like so in my comfort zone, and so I spent many hours crafting a wonderful spreadsheet. And by then, the idea of I could create a hit business, and then it's like this is
Ah,
the business model. This is projecting years and years and years and month after month of revenue and how it could all work. And I was just massaging that spreadsheet week after week.
and I feel like we were in touch during that time because I think you were sharing. I mean, I should have gone through all my old like legacy email before this, but I feel like you were sharing that with me and you were sharing some of those projections. I remember having, I don't know whether that came later or whether it's actually
Yeah,
during this time you were
yeah. No,
mulling it over.
I would
Yeah.
have been asking you like fundamentally
Yeah.
what is the price, because this all
Yeah.
hangs off the price per session, the viability and stuff. So yeah, I would have been in contact.
Yeah. So I remember we were going back and forth quite a while. This is before you joined, obviously, Hit
Yeah.
Business Membership as well. Yeah. And it's all coming back to me now, actually. So then, okay. So then after obviously when were you able to make the shift? Because obviously you were landscaping part time or full time, and then eventually you had your model together, your plan together, and then you move forward with the hit idea. So tell us a little bit more about that transition.
Well, that basically, we got the mortgage for this house that we live in, and therefore I didn't need this poorly paid, really not very good job. Um, but it was very much like now I got the choice: do I go back into the workforce at a decent salary, but a full on,
Mhm.
40+ hour job plus maybe commuting or traveling? Um, and my wife had a good salary at the time and still does, and it's like, well, that would give us two good salaries, but no time. Young children, two good salaries. That doesn't really add up to as a position to start a business, because yes, you could probably build up funds, but you're still faced with a cliff edge of like, right, cut off your income and plummet to nothing and start a loss making business. Whereas it, it occurred to me before, like if you're a sole trader, you're in control of your time. You'll manage yourself. You do full time, part time. You're just totally within your control. And it was, and that was how it came to be. It paid better than I really expected it to after I developed it for a few months. And
Are
yeah,
we
it was
talking
it
about
was
landscaping or the hit business now? Sorry.
no landscaping, gardening,
Okay. Yeah.
and handyman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it, and it was easy to get work. And I didn't, the kids obviously still young kids. School finishes at 3:30, doesn't it? But so it was never, I never really did full time at that, but it was half to three quarters hours, and very much like I just gave me the confidence if I can get as much of this work as I need. And therefore, now the prospect of starting a business where on day one you'll have zero clients doesn't seem so crazy, because you can spend your time earning money to offset it.
Wow. So it sounds like it almost gave you the confidence. Like you started your first kind of dipped your toe in entrepreneurial waters and thought, oh, I can do this. I can manage this. And this doesn't seem so daunting now. Is that accurate as well?
Um, yeah, we dipped our toe in property investment type stuff already by then,
I see.
and got a bit burnt. But I was, I guess I was of that mind of like, I want to start a valid business, but the backdrop, what's the backdrop? If I've got no clients, if it's not working, how am I paying these bills that I've committed to? And it's like, well, I can actually just do enough gardening to pay for it all. It's obviously not a nice situation, but it's better than debts coming after you or whatever that people are afraid of. Like it was just, okay, this is a place where we actually needed that confidence because of the property investment made us more risk averse. Risk
Okay. Yeah.
averse.
Yeah.
Um,
Makes sense.
so yeah, there we were. That was a starting point.
So why go into a hit business? And I know you've got a background in just fitness yourself. You're passionate about it. Maybe that was why. But obviously, there are lots of things you could go into in terms of your own thing. A sole trader, you could have scaled the gardening, handyman, landscaping stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was it came slowly. So you're starting listening to your podcast in 2017. I didn't
Hmm.
join the forum till 20 December 2020 or 21, probably
It
21.
was 21. Yeah.
Yeah. But in that time when I first started listening, I wasn't even going to a gym lifting weights, and it's like it slowly came to the idea. Oh, yeah, I should be lifting weights. Everyone should be lifting weights, and then it's like people who should really be lifting weights are older people, and it just became uh, more and more of a firm vision that this is something I want to do. I really believe in this. Whereas gardening, landscaping, property investment, I'm confident I could do any of those things and make some money, but I'd always be gazing the other way, like this isn't it. This isn't really what I want to be doing.
Yeah, it doesn't set you on fire like working with clients, which I know you get. You've already shared some stories where you've been working with a bunch of people all day long, and you just like get a real buzz out of it. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So then obviously you made the leap. How did you make the leap to become a personal trainer in terms of like getting space, starting to generate clients? Just tell us about the early days.
Um, well, I knew, you know, so I'd listened to all the podcasts, some of the core influential ones. Like if you wind back a few years, Luke Castle talking about how big should the studio be, and it should be in the premium space. So we were considering Bristol. We used to live in Bristol. There's more sort of obvious wealth there and more dense population, but we live here in this town that's outside Bristol, and I very much wanted to do it here. Partly for that, you start off, you're gonna have one client in a day. Do you really want to commute to the studio, or do you want it on your doorstep? And so I understand why people might start in their garage. A lot of people have
Mhm.
done that, haven't they? But that was never really an option. So it was very much, I wanted to just take the big step, if you like, to a studio, not a big studio, but it's in a premium location for this small town, as a starting point. And I guess is it because I had the other income, or is it because I'd joined the forum by then and just gotten more confident about this as a business, that I didn't I didn't earn any money as a personal trainer before I opened.
Mhm. Right. So you opened the location. It was the first time you were earning money as a personal trainer. There was no working out of a commercial facility, training friends, nothing like that.
I might have resorted to that, but it was
Yeah.
really about what properties came up. And one came up that's suddenly in a good location, bid for it, didn't win it. Really like,
Oh, I remember
like
this.
like
Yeah.
when you're buying a house or something, that one you fall in love with, then someone else gets it. You really get
Yeah.
tested by that,
Yeah.
don't you? Like where your resolve is. And then in the same building, but round another side, a smaller unit was also available. And it's like, if I don't get this one, I could be waiting a long time for something that suits.
Mhm.
The high street stuff comes up, but it's not quite right. You can't park, in this town. That's not what I needed. I want to be in the town centre, but near the car park. And the studio I've got is where I want it to be. But I was very much keen to get it. Like if I don't get this one, then potentially the start is a year away. Like how long will it be before another one comes up that
Yeah.
ticks the boxes like this one does?
And obviously people can go to safe-strength.co.uk or safe-strength.co.uk to see more about studio space, the branding, etc. But it looks like a great location. You got there right on the. Is that a high street in the small town? Is that accurate to say that? I
Um,
remember.
Technically, it's not the high street, but it is.
Yep.
There's a premium food retailer, M&S Food. I'm not sure what the US equivalent would be, and they have a
Whole
car
Foods
park.
probably similar to Marks and
Yeah, that
Spencers.
sort of
Yeah.
thing. Okay, and it's between that and the town centre, so there's a lot of foot traffic. There's also Chepstow has a lot of rural areas connecting to main trunk highways, and people coming through Chepstow, and the traffic literally sits outside the studio quite often.
Yeah.
Um, so it's got footfall and the equivalent of car traffic visibility.
And that's worked well for you, hasn't it? People driving past, walking past. You've done a great job with I think one of the things you do so well is you take the principles that we share in the membership on the podcast that's shared by, obviously Luke's responsible for a lot of that, at least revealing those to us through books like Traction and the idea of having a target market and free uniques and all these kinds of things.
Yeah.
But you've done a great job, obviously, lasering in on the senior target market and being very strict and disciplined about all of your decisions made around that. And obviously, including the outside branding. And that sounds like, I mean, just going back on our discussions, like that's worked well for you in terms of generating a lot of free workouts in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. Not a lot of free workouts in the beginning, but if you look at my client base and the client base I've had over 18 months, the main source of those clients has been they saw it. They live locally. They saw it. They're curious. They came in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Perfect. And tell us more about the area. So, because I think a lot of people listening to this, maybe on the fence, thinking about starting a hit business. They're unsure if they have enough people in their area. Obviously, you've been very helpful already talking about decision between Chepstow and Bristol, which I think is a really good point. Like, it's not always about necessarily finding the optimal location. Depends on your goals, right? Depends on your lifestyle. Do you want to commute far? Do you want it on your doorstep? I think these are important sort of criteria, right? So, but tell us about Chepstow as a place. Tell us about as much as you know about the general population and also the number of people in your demographic and your target market.
Yeah. Yeah. So we came from Bristol, which is, one of the biggest cities in England. And
it's like 1 million people, probably.
No. It's not that big. 300,000.
Okay.
I guess you wouldn't call it wealthy. Wales, which is like England, has probably got two fairly well-heeled areas. So there's lots of fairly poor areas in Wales, but the two areas that are well-heeled are some of the outskirts of the capital, Cardiff, and Monmouthshire, which is where Chepstow is in this county. So the house prices are higher here. They're maybe above average for the UK, but only slightly. It's not a really wealthy area, but there's a relative thing there, isn't there? People here have relatively more money than the next counties. And there's cultural elements, because you can try and find market data, but it's all, I've experienced this in business before. It's all a bit, I don't know, it's all a bit slimy, isn't it? Trying to get market reports for things.
Right.
And so you can see what cars people drive, but I think culturally, there's plenty of people with money who don't drive a flash car. But you can you can tell by house prices, you can tell by the retailers, the
house
M&S
price
food.
is a good indicator. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because, you can go in there and spend a lot of, you can sort of spend restaurant prices
£10
on food that you take home and do yourself. Yeah. And then in terms of the age, we moved here and been here like a couple of years. And we just sort of were back in Bristol visiting friends or family or something. And I was looking around Bristol saying, there's a lot of young people around, isn't there? And it's, of course, the contrast was there. Like, I'd gotten used to seeing all the grey-haired people around Chepstow. So it is the demographic is older here. It's certainly, fairly heavy in over 60s, let's say.
Mm-hmm. And how many people roughly in the area?
Chepstow is about 15,000. Then you've got lots of small villages in the surrounds. So if you take that catchment, and this is another lesson from, the forum and the Luke, like 25 minutes is a key cutoff. If you can drive in 25 minutes to your studio, that is actually your catchment. And it's difficult to pin that down, but I'd say it's between 40 and 60,000 people live in that catchment.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So, by the way, whenever James is mentioning forum, he's referring to Hit Business Membership, highintensitybusiness.com/join to find out more about that. And also, what I noticed when you say about 25 minutes, if you go to your website, you did a great job in your footer on all your pages saying that it's 25 minutes from all of these locations and they're hyperlinked. Did you do that after listening to Connie in regard to no, go ahead.
I'm paying an SEO consultant.
So he or she already knew that to do that. Very smart. Yeah. And just on that, how's that working for you? I love the website, by the way. I know it's still early days, but how's that working for you in terms of lead generation?
I think we're getting to the end of early days, and I'm probably going to call it off.
Understood.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because people can see you, and then do they remember what that shop sign said? They search strength training or personal trainer, and then how high are you in the listing? So SEO is part of it, isn't it? You can't completely divorce. This lead came from search. This lead came from the street. But
Mhm.
it just, yeah, I don't think it's the real reason I'm going to can it is because my momentum for referrals is just getting more and more. And so I don't need to spend on SEO to get people.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, I get the logic. Are you getting? Can you see in your SEO data what people are searching? Because I was listening to something I did with Luke a while back, and he was saying that like 80 to 90% of their free workout pipeline is referrals, even at this level. And I was wondering, and the reason I know that, sorry, is because even a Google search will show discover strength, which if someone's searching discover strength, it's often because someone's told them that they've told them about the company, and then
Mm.
they've gone to their website before they've done anything else. Are you seeing that in your data? So people search save strength or not?
I haven't, I'm not that close to the search data that I probably
Understood.
will get. But when I've looked before I was even doing search engine optimization, when I look at my website stats and the search, the basic data, yes, people are searching safe strength chepstow and then coming to your website from Google.
Mm, right. There you
Absolutely.
go. Because I obviously you have an older demographic, and I could be wrong, but do you find that your target market aren't as obviously likely to use your website? Because I say that hesitantly because I am seeing people of all ages these days on their mobile phones all the time in cafes, 80-year-olds, like 70-year-old, all
Yeah.
all on devices. So
Yeah, there's a real split. You can't rely on age for that. There's
yep,
tech savvy silver
yep.
surfers that are quite a large portion of that
Silver
demographic.
surfers, is that what they call them? I love that. I'm joining that club soon of my beard, silvery beard. Okay. Sorry, I cut you off there. Any more you want to say on that?
um, I yeah. So the main client that appears to be a search generated client is in their early 60s,
Mhm.
and so really close to my avatar. Um, and they joined twice a week. Love it, high value client. So I think it's valid search. It's just it hasn't worked that well, and I think I'm gonna pull the plug on it
Understood.
for now.
Okay.
Maybe I'll do it again in future. It's very much you want to know with marketing. You want to know what tools work. Doesn't mean you want to use them all the time, but you want to test them one at a time and find out. Okay, if we invest this in this form, we get this back, and it's just good to know, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you only got limited time and resources. You have to select the channels wisely. So going back just to, I guess, when you got started, you've got the space, you got the location, the lease, you got the equipment. Um, Tell us about like what was hard in the beginning. Like what were some of the challenges you faced at the start?
Yeah, I've thought about this. Before I opened, it was hard to commit to the price. You've built your business model at price X. You can't then bottle it the week before you open and drop your price because that wasn't your business model. And who's going to tell you that it's going to work? No one's done a business like this in this area. The personal training fees are relatively low in this area, and you're not offering. You look at other things, other health clubs and stuff, but that's not what you're offering. So it's not really a direct comparison. And also,
Mhm.
I don't know money as a personal trainer. I had nothing to go off there. So I think the first thing is being confident with your pricing. I think my background helped that, but also just the fact that it's laid out in essentially it's the hit business formula is available inside the membership. So the formula says, take the local, take a spectrum of all the personal training in your area, and you want to be at the high end of it as a sort of simple one line answer. And so that was, I think, that one of the first challenges was deciding the price. £39 a session is what my price is. What was the next challenge? Yeah, getting clients. It was certainly slow at the beginning. Um, I'm a member of the running club, and that announcing my opening day on there got me my first 3 clients.
But there was a time there where you were struggling to get more, right? You're struggling to grow in the beginning, even though obviously that worked well. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Is there any challenges come to mind, like you just struggling to
Yeah,
get people?
yeah, because wasn't really doing any promotion. Obviously, I've built this shop and I've got the frontage, the footfall, and the 7 meter
Mhm.
wide sign. But one of the podcast episodes you did with um, what's his name? Is it Duncan, the Exeter Fit 20 owner?
Oh yeah, that was a while back. Yeah.
But it was interesting that he talked about the difference before and after lockdown and the type of client and the sort of tenure he'd get for certain people. And he'd like, they join, but they leave. And now after lockdown, he's getting clients that he just knows will stay. That like, it's just that avatar. It's just really clear to him. And that was useful for me. So I'm like, I'm not my key avatar, this over 60, over 65 typical person. They're not going to want to join straight away. So I kind of accepted that um, early on. But why didn't I go quicker? Is because I didn't do much promotion. It's like, why didn't I do much promotion? Well, I was out doing my sole trading to
Mm.
pay to not make a loss. So there's kind of a trade off, isn't
You
there?
were, yeah, you were. I remember you were at quite a tight spot where you were doing the soul trading stuff, you were doing the landscaping, handyman, etc. And you were also parenting a lot and trying to run this. And there was some tight spots there, right? Where it was like, I haven't got time to go and do marketing. So that's is that accurate
Yeah.
saying that? Yeah. But what I liked about that, what I noticed with you is your creativity. When we have constraints, you're forced to be creative, right? You can't do everything. It's like that's why sometimes marketing budgets of many millions of dollars in businesses sometimes fail because it creates almost too much freedom and there's not enough thought gone into like what's actually going to be really effective and enhance that sort of creativity. And what I noticed of you is you had to be really judicious. You're like, what am I actually going to do to get customers? And then obviously as you got more time back, then you're able to invest more in that. So obviously things got a little easier because the income started growing. You could do more with the studio and less on the landscaping front. You sort of scaled back.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that happened naturally, not that smoothly. I remember August last year, and I think it's difficult to pin down, but there's several factors. I've been open long enough, and people have seen it, and they've when you're in your local town, your local high street, if a shop changes, like you're going about your day, you're not like surveying what's changed every day. But when something new, and I've obviously got a big sign, when something is new, like there's a number of times that you're likely to pass it where it is going to slowly get your attention. You see what I mean? So just having the duration of having been there was starting to help. And in August, randomly, I had like 3 people walk in and a Bark.com person who immediately referred another person. Like suddenly we got that spark, if you like. We were off. And one thing that I was really hoping for before that, because the hit model is your marketing is your client base. Make each workout the best workout it can be. There's no other option other than the person in front of you. This is how you should think. Like what they go and say about their workout is your marketing. So I was very much committed to that, and I felt like I was doing a good job. And these clients were loyal; they were staying with me, the few that I had, but they weren't referring people, and that's kind of. I guess that was getting frustrating, and Bark.com doesn't really deliver in this area, so that was a bit frustrating. But you eventually in August, things started to spark and things started to change, which was good.
So, a couple of things before I ask why they changed. I like that you kind of almost had to resort to like multi-channel in the beginning. Like, okay, footfall, people seeing the location coming in, bark.com, friends falls and family, as they say. I don't know if there are other channels as well, networking. And it's like you're almost trying to see throw as much shit on the wall as possible and see what sticks, right? See what channels work. But I think what we help do in the membership to accelerate that is obviously there are a handful of things that tend to work really well in the beginning, more so than other things that you probably focused on more, such as networking.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess, but I started the networking in August, and that is um, before then. I hadn't been throwing enough stuff against enough walls to grow any faster, and I was at peace with that. It is what it is. It's going slowly. Not going to let it stress me out. Um, then starting business networking, really, that was not instantly, but that particularly by now has really really delivered very well. Um, a big chunk. It's now rivaling the walk-ins for the source of my client base.
Interesting. And I do want to underscore what you said earlier about, focusing on the workout, the customer experience is like the most important thing. Obviously, giving it a great experience that's remarkable. That then gets that person to tell someone else, get a referral. Luke has a great was it saying for this? I don't know whether he'd come up with this, but it's one rep, one set, one client. It's like if I can just focus. Like I remember when he was in his early days, when he had financial worries, cash flow issues, right back at the beginning, he would just be like, look, if I can just focus on this client right here in front of me and do a great job, one rep, one set, one client, it's going to solve my retention problems. It's going to solve my referral, my lead gen challenges because I'm going to get referrals. And I just think that I love that simplicity. Obviously, there's more to a business than just that, but
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
important.
It's true, and it was true. It's just when I had 6 clients, none of them really had the personality that they liked referring. It didn't work.
Right.
Nothing's changed. The quality and the effort that I've put into sessions was high then, and it's high now. But now I get referrals, and it's just because different people have come in and they're like, "Wow, I've told my friend about this straight away," or I'm going to tell I'm going to tell these people, or I've now got 3 spouses, sort of thing. People who've bought their other halves. So it's just it's now going, but it's if you think about what Peter Circle's been saying in several of the podcasts, his model of like you get 1 in 100 or you get a few in 100 who are super referrers. So referring is absolutely powerful, but it doesn't mean it's going to be powerful with each person.
Right. There's always going to be a Pareto distribution, like an 80-20, right? Well, in Pete's example, like a 95-5, like 5% are responsible for like, all of that, the referrals. So, okay. So it sounds like you almost had to get to a critical mass or you had to get a certain number of clients before you could start seeing those referrals happening because you're then coming across the right individuals for that.
Yeah.
And were they, maybe your target market's evolved, but are they all the good referrers? Do they tend to be your target market, would you say?
Yes, I would. The last 2 days, 2 people have been in who are in their late 70s. Their husbands have tried it first, and now they're coming in.
Yeah.
In terms of evolution of my target market, it has probably gotten older. I had in mind very clear avatars: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're still valid. But number one was sort of a 60-year-old, whereas really my number one is probably a 70-year-old.
Okay.
Now, that sort of sounds subtle, but there can be quite a difference in a body that's 10 years older. That
Yeah. And are you training anyone who's not your target market?
I have done. Yeah, I've got 2 in their 40s who are pretty athletic. They're the extreme of my range of clients at the moment.
Yeah, I think the point is, it's like just because I know people still worry about if you're so focused on one particular target market, then you're going to exclude all these people. And it's like, no, that's not what happens. What happens is you end up like acquiring everyone in your entire area in that particular target market. And you're still going to get people outside of that because your target market is not your total market. You're still going to attract others.
No, and I should say at this point, Lawrence, the value of being on the forum, in the membership calls is, my degree was in marketing. I've always known, everybody can say, oh, you need to be specific who you appeal to. But it's funny, you get in a conversation with people and I say, this is a Say Strength leaflet and it says over 60s on it. And they're like, oh, you shouldn't say that because what about you're excluding people? But no, I've been on the calls with you and Luke Carlson is there and he's saying like, it's just so crystal clear, the message. You should be alienating people. It's not try to be specific. You must alienate people so that you're speaking to someone. And then you're very good at backing up that. Don't worry, you're not excluding them really. It's just you're being clear about who you are. And then you let people be attracted to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Yeah. It's so hard to do. It so goes against our like human instincts, but it's, it makes a lot of difference. I mean, there's a reason why I don't create content or serve people outside of high intensity training. Same thing, right? It's the same reason. Because if I try to market to all fitness business owners, I get lost in the sea of, fitness business consultants, I guess. Perfect. All right. So just to summarize that bit, then it was again, it sounds like it was a combination of time in business, time in location, and multiple channels, acquiring enough people to then get the kind of referral flywheel going. And that was really the solution. Those were
Uh,
is that
and
fair? Yeah.
well, local business, the local business network I joined has to be in there. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
uh, three three of them have joined, and they've um, two of them have referred people. One of whom's now referred their spouse, and they're talking about referring another one. You know, that just it's going, isn't it? Um,
Mm.
and so I joined that in August, but it's so basically the last 6 months I'm getting I was at the business network this week, and another person's come up to me who's come for the one-to-one in the studio. It's just this high value touch point, isn't it? Just this deep, experiencing what you do.
Mm.
And she's like, yeah, I actually want to, I live quite far. It's outside 25 minutes, but can I come once a fortnight? So we're having that discussion now.
And is it a Rotary Club? Remind me, the networking group. No,
No, no, it's
no.
basically a group of people who got cheesed off with BNI and started their own one.
What's it called? Is it?
Hive, it's called.
Oh, right. Yeah, I remember now. Okay, fair enough. And is that like a once a week thing?
Once a fortnight.
Once a
It's
fortnight?
quite long. It's a sort of 3 hour meeting
Okay.
with breakfast. And what I've realized, people like to say, "Oh, it's much nicer than BNI because there isn't the pressure, there isn't the money counting and making profit for someone else." But it's slightly more subtle than that. The difference is, and why this business network works, is that you're referring people because you want to, not because you feel pressure to. And so
Mm.
actually, you're just building really good relationships and trust with people. That's where my SEO consultant is. I had a bunch of videos done with the video guy there. Um, I'm, possibly there's other services there which I might take on, which is fine. And like I say, I've actually got a fifth, someone else in there, one of the last people to come for their one-to-one. He's late 70s. He's already got a personal trainer that he's been going to for years, twice a week. He's come to the studio once and he's like, "Oh, I might come and do this."
Nice. Yeah. Wow, that sounds like a great group. And just to add to that, it's obviously BNI is still a great resource, and because they're more widely available to most people listening, there'll be a BNI. But don't just stop there. Look at Google, like go to meetup.com, Eventbrite,
Yeah.
Google, Facebook, and look at all the local business events in your area, and obviously optimize for the ones where there's going to be your target market, right?
And chambers of commerce. Yeah.
Chambers of commerce, absolutely. Yeah. Any others that come to mind?
No, I've
Didn't need
just
it.
there isn't one here, and it's like it's so good to me. It's occurred to me that I might start one in Chepstow in my town because
Oh,
I travel
cool.
to the next town, which
Yeah.
is 20 minutes. It's just inside that catchment, and it is working.
Excellent.
But I don't
Yeah,
want to
you
put the
just,
effort in, so I won't.
well, I mean, maybe at some point it makes sense. Maybe if you've got trainers or whatever. Yeah, you just reminded me. I remember you coming onto a mastermind. So in Hit Business Membership, for those that don't know, we do 2 1 hour mastermind calls every month where it's a group of hit entrepreneurs at different levels, and we all help each other, right? So we have a format. It's not quite as strict as BNI, but we have a format just to make sure that we make it as productive as possible and add as much value to everyone there. And it's all about just staying connected, not getting lonely, and realizing that there's people that have solved your problem in your hit business because we're all in the same niche together, so we can figure this out. Um, not promoting myself too much. I forgot what I was actually going to ask you. That's it. But I remember you coming onto a mastermind at one point, and you were like, I was like, "What's your challenge today, James?" You were like, "I'm becoming a victim of my own success." You were like, I've acquired a lot of customers. I think this was August or September, where you were like, I just want to make sure I'm like able to, I was worried
Yeah,
about capacity and things
I
like
had a
that.
bit of it's just a bit of anxiety of like, right, I've pretty
Yeah.
much doubled in a month, which I'm really happy with, but is this going to keep happening? Because that was a bit scary, the thought of growing really fast suddenly.
Mm,
But
yeah.
the natural variation of things meant that wasn't a problem, but it was a different problem to have, a different
Yes.
sort to have
A
for a
high
while.
quality problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'd say of BNI, I probably, if the vision for Safe Strength, if I keep being a success and years down the road, I want more locations. If I open closer to a city, then I probably would join a
Yeah.
BNI straight away. Just do it on day one, get things going.
Yeah. Yeah. It could be a good one. All right, let me see here. So we talked a bit about the challenges you had in the beginning, how you sort of overcome a lot of those and the actions you took. Um, what are the big lessons that you've learned, you think? Like what when you sit down now and think
Mm.
what you thought when you got into this and what you kind of learned, like what are like the top 2 or 3 things that come to mind?
Well, in terms of, I guess, a surprise, I didn't know. Like I said, I hadn't done any personal training. I've gone from desk job, and yeah, I've always been like active doing stuff and uh, teach my friend how to play badminton or squash or something, but not at, nothing real personal training, no weight training, no gym environment stuff. But one thing you get to, of course, I was very pleased that I enjoyed it. Like I didn't know that I would, but I do enjoy it, and it's part of the like one rep, one set, one client. Like if you're really in it, then it's never the same. You had the podcast where they talked about this with some guy who's been doing it for a really long time. And it's very much true. Like you are with that client in that moment. Like this is going to be a PB. Like it's a good energy, and I imagine I will always do it now. Even if I get to the point where I can step back from it in some sort, I would never want to let it go. It's really it's good. It's what could be more tangible. The difference you're making to people, particularly my target market, where it can be so huge to them.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, so yeah, that's fascinating. So you weren't okay. So like you weren't like, do I really want to be training people all day long? Am I going to enjoy that? When you got into it, you're like, this is I feel like I'm in the zone. It sounds like what you're saying, and I can
Yeah,
really relate to that.
and I
Yeah.
can't imagine anyone. Not everyone would necessarily love it, but I can't
Mhm.
imagine people really finding it difficult or boring. Like it's not. It's good. Yeah. Other sort of things to learn and challenges. What should I have done better or differently? I should have joined the business network sooner, because it's also like the membership forum is. It's also a support group.
Mm.
And it's great to have both, because in the forum we've got such a specific. We are studio owners, even if there's a huge difference in scale to little one man bands. But we all do the same job.
And some
So
people who don't even have a studio, but are doing like virtual training, but it's
yeah.
always a hit model because then you're going to really make sense for that. Yeah.
So that we've got that camaraderie from that. But then in my local business group, I'm the only personal trainer in there. It's obviously a one seat type group, but we're all local people running a small business, employing 0 to 5 people or something.
Mm.
And so I meet them every fortnight, and those are good relationships, and it's very supportive. So I should have done it because it's a good thing to do, and it's worked for the business bringing sessions in. So I should have done.
Yeah.
Anyone should do that as soon as they can. Um, I think back to the start, and I didn't push enough friends to come and try it. It was on the to-do list, but I never really went after it. And
Right. I remember that. I remember like when we were, I think when we were on email, I can't remember if you had joined the membership at this point or you hadn't yet, but I remember we were on email and I believe I kept pushing you to ask for, I'm not taking credit for this, but I could be wrong, but I feel like I was like, God, get over this hurdle. Like, don't let your kind of fear or promote what
mm,
you do to friends. Um, and why are you saying that now? Why are you saying I should have done that earlier? Is that because that worked well for you and actually,
no, it's just because it would have done. Just because if we just talked about the local business network. These random people aren't expecting a personal trainer to join their network, and they aren't expecting to have a free workout, but they have basically signed up to do it and to try each of the other people in that network. And once they've had the quality of the experience and momentary muscular failure, or whatever it is that's really going to hit them that day, their depth of understanding and their ability to refer people is just through the roof. And that's the same for your friends.
yeah, yeah,
Like you don't
absolutely.
need them as clients. You need them to feel it and understand it and really get it front of mind. So I didn't do that. Like, so people out there who could do that will benefit from it,
I quite
no doubt.
like Pete made me think of something Pete said on a recent call. He was like, one of his sort of tactics is to like come up with a new program or change something about the studio, make it more novel, and grab everyone by the scruff of the neck. And you can imagine that's very much Pete's personality, and say, you must come in and try this. And oh, I'm working out. I'm not interested. I don't care. You got to just try this because, like you say, it's not about them joining. It's about who they're going to tell, and it's that word of mouth referrals that are valuable.
Yeah.
Um, where to go next? So that was very useful. Thank you for that. This has been so good so far. Kind of getting, I guess, as we draw towards the end, what advice do you have for like our colleagues, right? People that are maybe in a startup mode who are just thinking about maybe on the fence and they're thinking about starting a hit business in whatever capacity. What advice do you have for them in terms of resources or
Y-
mindset,
Yeah,
etc.?
yeah. So you've already identified that it you know, mindset is the bit that people need support for, let's say. And why has it worked for me? It's because the resources in the forum, all of the podcast episodes, like it just it was non-negotiable. I had to get a location that was convenient for my target client. It's not, well, you can get this one at this price that's in a farm a mile away, and that's much cheaper. So your overheads will be lower. So you reach profit with less sessions. Like, no, no, no. Have your client, have your target client, and then be in the location for them. And it's just like, it will become trivial how much more it feels like a lot that you're spending on location, but that will become trivial because the economics of sessions, building
Yeah.
on sessions, it will work. And it did. But you've got to be confident about that to make the decision to do it. So, I committed to 2 years of a lease. That's not cheap. But I was able to take that plunge because it was just so clear to know this is the model, this is the proven model, this is how you do it. And the same sort of goes for pricing. You need to sort of commit to that and don't make the mistakes on discount promotion type stuff because it's just not right for our
No,
niche, our premium
correct.
model. And yeah, like I guess just being so clear on that target person in the first place. There can be more than one, but prioritize them. Have a one, two, maybe five, but just be like, give them a name, give them a picture. What do they do? What motivates them? Just get really close to them as a concept
Mm.
avatar. We tend to use as a word, don't we? And then build around that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just curious, what do you think five's a bit much? Like, might overwhelm people? Do you think it's better to have maybe 1 to 3 in the beginning?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Have five if you like, 'cause it reassures you that I'll get this sort of person and I can get that sort of person. But you can only market to one.
Yeah.
So make all your messaging super compatible with one, and then maybe a little bit of a nod to two. So mine was a 60-year-old and a 70-year-old, and then my third was a 55-year-old. So there's sort of, you could argue it's variations on a theme. Um, but just to talk about, people will see and say strength, and you obviously had Simply Strong on a few months ago. Like I
Mm.
never use the word intensity. I never use the word, uh, I stay away from anything that sounds intimidating because my target market will not come through the door. Um, and
Yeah,
it
which
doesn't,
might be different to like a Discover Strength, where they've got a more, or similar studios to that, where they've got a more type A target market who actually wants to be crushed, right?
yeah,
So when they see imagery or whatever, or video footage of someone with a strained face for a workout, it's like, oh, they're getting a great workout. So that's
yeah,
really key,
yeah,
right? They're communicating to the right audience.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Whereas mine, it's sort of, grey haired people smiling, sat
Maybe
down.
never been to a gym before, maybe.
Yeah, plenty
Yeah.
of my clients have never been to a
Okay.
gym, never had a
Yeah.
personal trainer.
Yeah.
So there's all of my brand messaging has been to enable that
Yeah.
for sure. Even the colors.
Yeah, no, oh, interesting. Okay. What the blue? The blue is
Mm-mm.
that? Is this was this from your consultant you work with? Is that where that comes from?
No,
No?
no.
Okay.
It's more about my background. Anyone can look it up. Like, what's the color
Oh yeah,
associations
your
for
background.
brands? Um,
Yeah.
but so you did Optima in yellow. Discover Strength has yellow. Yellow sort of about energy and stuff, isn't it? And vitality. Whereas if you think of the Say Strength, the blue primary color, blue and white, it's supposed to look more like a physiotherapist.
Right. Okay. Yeah, like healthcare almost.
Yeah, it's just a sort of a more of a trusted establishment type thing.
Okay.
Banks,
Yeah.
and
Government.
not
Yeah.
the disruptor banks. The old
Yeah.
banks.
Yeah.
Um,
The trustworthy ones.
yeah, but that's it. We are much closer to healthcare than gyms full
Okay.
of battle ropes and sleds, aren't we? So that was
This you got me thinking now
clear for
about
me.
my own colors, which are probably bad. But tell me, what's red mean? Does that mean danger? What does red mean? Red, black, and green. Because no, like definitely this is a shortcoming of mine. But please, yeah, what do you think?
I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah, it would be It's probably more sexy
Oh, yes.
than the
Yeah.
safe blues.
Okay. Yeah. So it's perhaps inappropriate content. Maybe need to review that at some point. Yeah. And just on target market, one more thing I wanted to add is obviously when we're in the beginning, it's hard to know. I mean, you can look at, right. So most hit studios do probably target the female busy professional who's educated, who's over 40, right? That seems to be a popular, if you have access to that demographic, it's a popular target market because they tend to be attractive because they are, they're, again, they meet the metrics that we like. They're willing to spend money on one-on-one personal training. They're easier to retain. They talk about it with their friends, etc. And they seem to be what we do seems to really resonate with that. But so that could be one template one could use when they're first starting out, because you don't actually know, right? You don't know who in your area is really going to be drawn to what you do. Which gets back to what you were saying about having multiple avatars to begin with, because it's only after you've got a group of clients, like, I don't know, 20, 30 customers, where you can say, you can do the exercise, right? That Luke probably shared with us, which is, who in my client base is the easiest to sell to, is the easiest to retain, tells all their friends, gives us all a great comments on social media, etc., is a joy to work with. And then when you ask each one of those questions, it's Jane, it's Jane, it's Jane, it's Jane. And then it's like, that's your target market. For those listening who haven't actually done this exercise and identified their target market, start building the business around it, do that exercise and your business will grow.
Yeah. No, I think that's valid. I possibly had the problem of, I spent, £2,500 on the frontage the day to open, and it was going to be very visible. So I didn't want to sort of do draft one and then change it. I wanted to commit straight away. But I think you're right. I think you shouldn't. You can overthink it before you do it, and actually once you get going, you'll learn a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of learning through the doing. So just before we wrap up, James, I need to shoot soon. I saying to you before we got started, I mean, you're really a model member, right? Inside Hit Business membership. I'm not just saying that because we're talking. You've been in the membership now for over 2 years, I think 30 months.
Yeah.
And what's great, a joy about you and working with you is you're just so action oriented. Like, I made a few notes here, things that stand out for me, and I'd love to know your thoughts. But you're always very you're kind of similar to myself. You're very objective. You like using the EOS system for kind of organizing how your strategy for your business and your decision making and your rocks and objectives. You've chosen a target market and you've bought into that kind of business principle, and then you've been disciplined about it in terms of like who you're serving, who you're making decisions around. And then also just in terms of your like weekly activities, I feel like you don't spend a lot of time doing stuff that's a waste of time. You're very I feel like you're quite, look, I know you're British and it's hard for you to take compliment, as it is for me, but you're quite good at being judicious about what you do with your time. This is how it comes across to me. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Well, yeah, thanks. I think so. I think I just have to be, because I know I'm, the wish list of things to not do is always, things I'm not going to do is always going to be massive. I actually like to maintain it in Todoist, which is really a getting things done style of list. But in there, I've got, these are the promotion things I'm doing, and there's like 5, and then I've got an ever growing, like, great ideas, 20 great ideas that I'm just not doing. I've added magazine advertising, so one more came in this month, but that was just great, one advert. It was a very quick thing. Spend some money, see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Has that rolled out yet?
No, well, yeah, not yet. Gone to 2 magazines, but we'll see. 10,000 circulation could be interesting.
Yeah. Is that the way you manage your to-do list? Has that been partly inspired by 4,000 weeks? It sounds like, or not?
No, I've heard that. I like that. No, it's this the what's his name? The Getting Things Done author.
Yeah, that's David Allen. Yeah,
David Allen. Yeah. The Todoist is just an app that fits that nicely, because you have an inbox and you have all the separate projects. No, EOS is the thing really, and you've got rocks for the quarter, and you sort of look at those and your issues, and you're like, and then we obviously have our masterminds, and it's like, well, actually, just try and take that attitude of, you wouldn't be happy to get nothing done. You want to get 100 things done, but actually 2 weeks or 4 weeks from now, which one, two, three things
Yeah.
you really need to get done? What's the actual minimum, and then do them, and then do more things. But really, just decide what that is.
Yeah.
And Luke talks
Normally,
about this, doesn't he? Like this is
yeah.
the day's. The day is done with this is done. There's another 10 things that you expect in the morning that you get in, but you stay focused on the I must do this one.
Yeah, and what is most important and most impactful is normally what's most uncomfortable for most of those listening is a good litmus test. But yeah, I 100% agree with everything you're saying. For those that don't know, 4,000 Weeks book written by Oliver Burkeman, really good read on kind of a different take on productivity philosophy, um, and just how we spend our time. But also, what I was referring to earlier was there's a method at the end of the book about how to manage to-do lists, which is quite useful, which I thought was what was inspiring for you there, but it's not. I mean, this is also what I wanted to just mention about you to, I guess, help existing members and future members of the membership get the most value. Because I think this thing you do so well is whenever we go to masterminds, you have prepared, you have a challenge in mind. Like maybe it's one of your rocks that you're struggling to kind of make progress on or whatever it is, but you're always like, this is my challenge. Or if it's not a challenge, like a
Mm.
marketing or fill in the blank, it's like a technical challenge, an operational challenge. Like, how do I work with a client who's got this
Yeah.
shoulder injury or whatever? So you come with that question, and obviously we're all there on the call ready to weigh in and try and help. So I think you do that really well. Not to say that others aren't prepared. I just wanted to highlight that is
Yeah, I do like to
that
think
works.
about it, and it's just because I'm aware there's such great value in being able to ask those people. They are 10 years ahead of me in doing exactly what I'm doing. So it's just like I need to sort of don't try and solve every problem yourself. Think about what you would, you know, people who've already done it and they've got it right or wrong, what they've learned. Ask them. So I do just think about the value of the resource there.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's been, certain nuggets have just been you can't put a value on it. It's just been good, and in all the 18 months I've been running Safe Strength now,
Team members.
it's been a fun journey. Like it's just there's certainly more highs than lows. Obviously, there's challenges all the time, but it's part of it being a part of enjoying it. I think is having the forum, having your colleagues there who people. Now there's several people who I've known for a long time
Yeah.
through the forum, and I'm bought into their success, and they're bought into mine. It's just it's really lovely.
And you're celebrating the wins. Like, is it like, do you get that sense of excitement when you're about to join a mastermind? I can't wait to share this great news or whatever.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I know that you and other people will be delighted to hear good
Rooting
news.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. No, I really appreciate you saying that. Obviously, it's very helpful to me. Oh man, I had another question there, but it's completely gone from my mind. Any other thoughts like, in terms of like, lessons learned or things that you think might be useful to owners today, other hit business owners or
Um,
mistakes you
can
see?
I?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of want to say, there is no competition in a sense. Like I've gone for my average age is 67, and it's probably creeping up. I feel like the market opportunity for training seniors is getting bigger and bigger
Mm.
and better and better. Like there's more and more in the media about, exercise is good, but strength training is the priority. So that fundamental market driver is there for us to take advantage of. And of course, we do it so well, and it's applicable. There's almost no one who can't do it. So I just would say if you're considering doing this, you're not sure which target market to go for, then I'd sort of encourage the older market. I just see it as
Interesting.
um, such a high value service to them.
Yeah. We know the younger market isn't usually ideal, given that they have no disposable income and ample time. um,
Well, another thing, my lifestyle, that retired people fit in wonderfully to working hours of the week.
right. Yeah, because they're going to pick up some of those off-peak times, I guess, aren't they? Some of those retirees. Um, Actually, one thing. This is what I was going to ask you. Is you mentioned there you've been in business 18 months, but you did join the membership early, and I remember that when you joined, obviously quite a while there before you opened, and that's because you were still planning your strategy, weren't you? You were using things like EOS and the content in the membership, and maybe even the masterminds to just kind of have a clear launch pad. Is that
Yeah,
is that accurate?
yeah, yeah. Because I knew when I got the lease, when I got the property, you'd be like, throwing everything at that to, get that open as quickly as possible. So you want to have built your website, you want to have done a lot of the tasks in advance, and that's where, you're doing it for real at that point, even if you're not open yet. So it's a no-brainer to join.
Yeah. Appreciate that. I think, because I'm just thinking, I know there are people that thinking about joining, but they're kind of waiting. And I'm just thinking, actually, you might find a lot of value in joining sooner, since you have, in terms of just preparation and planning and strategy and all that kind of stuff. And just making sure that, measure once, cut twice. No. Is that right? How am I saying that? Am I getting that wrong?
Measure twice, cut once. Yeah.
Measure twice, cut once. That's right. So that you don't make as many. Obviously, we're all going to make mistakes in our entrepreneurial journey, but you're going in with a more solid base, kind of more, shall we say, like proven principles to help guide what you're doing, by doing it that way. So I appreciate you supporting that, James. Look, this has been really fun. I'm conscious of your time. Right, we're right on the hard stop here. Thank you so much, James, for coming on the podcast. Really enjoyed this. And for anyone who wants to find out more about you, obviously they can go to safe-strength.co.uk or safe-strength.co.uk. Safe Strength is based in Chepstow in Wales, in the United Kingdom. Go and see James at his studio. Send him loads of clients if you can, from friends or colleagues or family who happen to live within a 30-minute or 1 hour radius, if they're very, very motivated to do hit one-on-one. James, any final thoughts?
No, that's great. Yeah, it's James at safe-strength.co.uk. If anyone, I'd love to hear from anyone if I can help in any way.
Perfect. Thank you.
Been fun.
Thank you, James. And for everyone listening, to get the show notes for this episode, please go to highintensitybusiness.com, search episode 467. And until next time, thank you very much for listening. Let's go. Hey, it's Lawrence again. Before you go, I have something special for those looking to accelerate their hit business. Would you like to know how to generate a flood of leads for free? Download our exclusive Build a Referral Machine playbook. It's a concise guide packed with proven strategies from Luke Carlson, CEO of Discover Strength, a fast-growing hit franchise. Clients in our Hit Business membership using these referral tactics have added 20 to 40 new clients, transforming their businesses dramatically. In this playbook, you'll uncover 4 dynamic referral tactics that you can implement right now to drive leads. Plus, when you download the guide, you'll gain access to invaluable resources to expand your business, like ready-to-use sales presentations, a guide for attracting top-notch trainers, a checklist for nailing your sales process, and so much more. And there's a bonus. Subscribe today to ensure you don't miss out on exclusive opportunities like live group calls with hit experts. Plus, you have the chance to contribute questions for our interactive Q&A blog posts and podcasts, where we directly address your queries with industry experts. These special events are scheduled periodically, and as a subscriber, you'll be the first to know when they happen. Just visit highintensitybusiness.com/ref, that's REF, short for referrals, highintensitybusiness.com/ref, or click the link available where you're watching or listening to this, drop in your email, and you'll get instant access to all these resources today.